Chris, could you start the clock just so I have some idea? Thank you. David, let me begin by asking, why are you a candidate for state representative?
Okay, well, I have lived here in North Attleboro for just about my entire life. I love the state of Massachusetts and I love our town, and I feel like we're going in the wrong direction, and I wanted to be part of the change. I felt like, with my background in construction and starting businesses and, safety training and all these different aspects of, my personal history, I feel like I have a very good understanding of, what needs to be done from a working person's perspective. And I'd like to bring that to the State House and make some positive changes in that aspect.
I always ask this of someone running against an incumbent. Do you think Adam Scanlon has done a poor job?
I do.
And why?
There's several reasons, there are quite a few reasons, but some of the more important things that I've been able to identify are things that really hurt our constituents directly, our communities. Things like almost all of the votes that he's taken have been right alongside with party leadership. And if we're going to have somebody in this position, I feel like they should be serving our communities and not just the party bosses and the leaders. And, I don't think we should just go along with what they tell us to do. And, that doesn't serve our people very well. Higher taxes, all of the votes to increase our taxes and, not supporting our citizens and, not putting our veterans first in line for some of these programs. I think that's a disservice to our community.
Are you happy with the amount of funding North Attleboro, which you would represent at least one district, and Mansfield are receiving from the state?
I think there's a good amount of money that's come in, under his tenure here, and I do think that may be part and parcel to the fact that there's never been a Democrat in this seat, and it's one of the things that I think they might be doing to show people, well, look how much money you can get by having a Democrat in the seat, and I don't think that's very good politics for the state, for our community. And I do think that there's a lot of things that can be done for our communities. And when you look at how inefficient the government spending is, when we give in through our own taxes, and whether it's through business taxes or just as an employee, or our town taxes through property taxes and other things, all that money is going essentially to either the town or to the government, and then they get to spend it very inefficiently for us. And I'd much rather keep more money in the pockets of the taxpayers than give it to the government to spend it inefficiently.
If you are able to flip the seat back to Republican, you mentioned party leadership on the Democratic side might have been getting more money for North Attleboro because they have a Democrat in the seat. Mm-hmm. Could it hurt the district to have a Republican representing the district?
I absolutely do not think so. And we can just look to the past. We had Betty Poirier and Kevin Poirier in the seat for about 50 years, and they did extremely well for our communities here. And I see no reason why, when I get in the seat, that it will be any different.
The crisis at the southern border hit home last year when migrants were housed both in North Attleboro and in Plainville. Critics have claimed the state is paying housing for migrants, but not the homeless, some of whom are veterans. Mm-hmm. Do you believe that to be true, and is it the right thing to do?
I do believe that is true. I think we are spending a lot of money on taking care of people who broke the law to be here, and as a result of that, we are seeing programs go unfunded or with a lack of funding to take care of Massachusetts citizens and veterans. There were some amendments put to the floor that would have prioritized Massachusetts citizens and veterans, and they were both voted down. They were rejected by the Democratic Party.
Donald Trump has said if elected, millions of migrants would be deported. Massachusetts in the past hasn't cooperated as far as police officials are concerned with federal officials. Would you support that move again, or would you want the police working with the federal government in deporting?
Yeah, so there is an issue here in Massachusetts where the law enforcement or the criminals. So to be very clear, we're talking about people that have committed crimes that are also here illegally. And the way our current system works is such that the law enforcement and the criminals do not have to coordinate or cooperate with federal bureaus to identify them as being here illegally, to assist with the federal bureaus who would take care of them.
If a family were illegal, did not come through the checkpoints, et cetera, were not arrested, but the federal government said, we want to deport them, would you suggest the North Attleboro Police cooperate and identify those people, arrest them, and turn them over to federal authorities?
Well, I do believe that there are a lot of good people that are here, and I mean America is the greatest country in the world, in my opinion, for a very good reason, and it's because we are accepting of people that want to be here, people that want to be constructive members of society and of our community. And I would advocate for people that want to be here. I would advocate for them doing it the proper way. And but I think there's a lot of great people here, and I want to continue to be the shining beacon for the world, and of course for the country here in Massachusetts, for people to want to be here. But I do want them to do it the correct way.
Let's talk about the MBTA. It seems as though every time they take one step forward, they take one step back. What can the legislature do other than pumping more money to the agency to make mass transit more reliable in this state? And is, in your opinion, the MBTA using the funds they currently receive wisely?
Well, I do think that our public transportation does need some more help. And we talked about it briefly earlier. When the government has our money, they don't spend it very wisely, and they're not very good at it. So part of the things that I'm really advocating for, when I do get to Beacon Hill, is to reduce government spending on programs that are not good for the state, but on programs that are good for the state, I would encourage more public-private relationships so that we can engage the private sector much more, and that would make, I think, our ability as the state to do a much better job at serving the public and providing a better value for the money that's being spent.
Attleboro, North Attleboro, Mansfield, the three communities you would represent, and 174 others across the Commonwealth are impacted by the new MBTA Communities Act. For people who don't understand it, what is it, and do you support it?
Very, very good question. This MBTA Communities Act is kind of like a wolf in sheep's clothing, if I were to describe it. And it sounds good on the outside, and I don't believe it's very good on the inside. It's one of those things that I think will hurt the communities that are affected by it. Simply, the way that it works is that it will take away local government and local officials' power to control what's being built and inside their communities. And a lot of the reasons why people like to live here in our communities is because of the historic aspects that we have, the small town features that we have. That's what people like, that's what people enjoy. That's why people move here. It's why North Attleboro and our surrounding communities are a great place to live. And what the MBTA Communities Act will do will take the power and control away from our local officials, the local planning board, the local zoning boards, the local official, the people who live here and want to see our communities stay the same and have the same features and the small town aspect that it has. It'll take that away. It'll give it to state oversight. And I don't agree that it is a good solution for us, and I don't support it.
Well, what can the state if anything, do? And you come from a family of construction development. To make homes more affordable. Seems like nobody's building capes anymore. Starter homes. Everything is 3-bedroom, 2 baths, etc. I live in a 1-bathroom home. I wish we had more than 1 bathroom, but it was a great starter home for us. Fortunately, we have a small family. We can retire at that home. But someone your age, I mean, how do you do it?
Yeah, it's a great question because it's a really big issue. You know, there's a housing shortage not just here in Massachusetts, but everywhere throughout the country, and it is a big problem that we are seeing home prices skyrocket. We're seeing mortgages be unattainable, not just because of the high price, but also because of the high interest rates on those mortgages, and as a result of that, we're also seeing apartments and rents be increased as well. So, it's not just, how do I get into a home? It's how do I get a place of my own, and how do I live without extending beyond my means? And it's a very tough thing right now in our environment right now. And the question being, what can we do to bring that down? We need to provide good solutions in terms of the policies that we require our home builders to comply with. And what we've seen with the energy policies that have been put in place here in Massachusetts, they're one of the biggest reasons why our home prices are going up. And part of your question was, why aren't we just building smaller homes? And smaller homes should cost less money. And part of the issue is the regulations require homes to be built in a certain way, complying with all the different building codes and of course the new energy code. And it doesn't necessarily say that homes have to be bigger. It just says that in order to comply with certain parts of the energy code, it can be very technical, so not to get into all the details. To pass some of the regulatory ratings that the systems that they have, it makes it easier to comply with these systems if the homes are larger. If there's more square footage, it reduces how the calculation is made to make it easier to pass. And so when we see these bigger homes, they will utilize the basements and other things to assist. It's kind of like manipulating the formula in such a way where they can pass the stricter requirements without changing a lot about the way that it's built.
We talked earlier about Democrats up in the House, in the Senate, up on Beacon Hill. Certainly the controlling party, some have called Massachusetts a one-party state. Mm-hmm. At the same time, voters have elected the Charlie Bakers, William Wells, and other Republicans to lead the state. If indeed this is a one-party state, whose fault is that? Is that the Democrats or is it the Republicans for putting up candidates who just aren't electable?
Well, great question. Yeah, because we have seen Republican governors, and I think it's part. There's several things that are causing this, and part of it is candidates just aren't interested in running, and it's usually not something that you see. Great candidates will run for the first time and not make it, and they can get so discouraged that they don't want to run again. Whereas if they ran a second time, they would have a much better chance at getting in and then serving the people and bringing good things to the communities. It's we've seen some great leaders in our past, especially at the presidential level, who have run and not made it, and then eventually they run and they make it, and they've been great presidents. And it's something that we need to see here on the local level. You can't expect to win the first time, and really great candidates need to continue and persist and push forward. And so it's probably part of both sides. It's kind of the GOP's side of finding good candidates and then encouraging good candidates to run not just once, but helping them run a second time so that they can get into the position that they're looking for.
Final question on election day. Why should someone cast their ballot for you and not Adam Scanlon?
Thank you for that question, Peter. And I believe that I have the background, the experience that I can bring as a blue-collar worker, living in this town for just about my entire life, having, opened and managed and run several businesses, teaching, adults how to, stay safe on the job and comply with, heavily restrictive building codes and energy codes. I believe I have an understanding of what it takes to live as a working class person, and I think I can take that to the State House and enact and bring some common sense up there, because that's what I think we need. I think we need people who understand how to put food on the table and manage several different jobs at once and still help their own family and contribute to the community, and I think that's something that I can bring to the table.
David, best of luck on Election Day.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you.
That's it.
Okay.